Good morning to the Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, online viewers, radio listeners via St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM and respective radio stations island-wide. I'm Relika Roach and welcome to the virtual live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 15, 2020. Before we begin, I would like to once again ask the viewing and listening public to continue having patience with us during our virtual meetings. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Education, Culture, Youth and Sport, the Honorable Rudolph Samuel, to address you. Minister Samuel.
Good morning. Good morning, Prime Minister. Good morning, colleague ministers, members of the media, St. Martin. Good morning. I would like to start this morning again by taking a moment of silence to pay condolence to all of us who have lost or is going through some difficulties this morning in regards to the situation of the virus. Yes, it is tough times, and we know we have to hold out and keep the distance in order for us to be safe. I do hope that we all had a blessed Easter, and as we continue to work together, even from a distance, I wish us a lot of strength. To the students out there and the parents of the students, I know learning from home or learning at home, going to school at home, is a whole different thing. And I'm asking you as Minister of Education to do something special. While you stay in touch with your teachers, you can probably write a story about how it is to go to school at home. And that story, you write a very long story, and maybe one day we can put all of those stories in a book. Parents, I know that sometimes it is difficult or different, and we would have to work this out. And to some of the parents out there, or all the parents out there, I would like you to know, if the teachers did not contact you within a day or two, I'm asking you to contact the teachers or contact the school. The reason for this is that sometimes the teachers are trying to get to you, to your home, to the child, to the student, and because of connections, we are not getting to everyone. So if you find that the teachers are not getting to you, please try and get to the teachers. The students abroad, special good morning to you. I have sent a letter out very early when I came in, wishing you the best and asking you to stay safe. In this letter, I had introduced myself and I have also leave you with some communication ability, either through me or through the department. Again, I'm letting you know if there is anything that the Ministry of Education can do or the government of St. Martin can do for you while you are abroad and going through the motions of staying safe, please let us know. This is going to be a very short briefing for me. I'm not going to go into much of details or say anything. I'm going to wait until there are questions or no questions. I thank you and God bless us all.
Thank you, Minister Samuel, for your opening remarks. At this time, I would like to invite the Minister of Tourism, Economic Affairs, Transport, and Telecommunication, the Honorable Ludmila De Wever, to address you. Minister De Wever.
Thank you, Ms. Roach. Good morning, Prime Minister, colleague ministers, press online viewers, and radio listeners. I just wanted to give a quick, brief update on what the ministry is busy with now. During this time, we know that the Prime Minister, with the assistance of EOC, is busy taking decisions that are keeping us safe, keeping us at home as much as possible. And at the same time, what we are focusing on now, what I am focusing on with the rest of the cabinet, is ways that we can jumpstart the economy. And to that effect, what we have already reached out to, we're busy creating a working group that is consisting of persons that are representative of our economy, our businesses. So it's small businesses, hoteliers, economists, bankers, casino owners. And while I can't go into the details of the members of that, the focus here is getting all of the best minds right now with the most expertise to come up to listen to the plan that we have of how we're going to get us out of this situation once our airport opens back up. Today as well, I have a meeting with the airport to get an update on them and basically to continue encouraging the rebuilding process so that we are ready once the airport opens up. Same thing is going to go on with our telecommunications with BTP, as well as setting up our meetings with the port to happen this week as well. And what I do want to remind the public is that there is not one person here that is unscathed. No one is untouched during this pandemic, and we're all making decisions that are in the best interest of everyone right now. And back in November, I remember when I had my first interview, I talked about community and how we're all interdependent, and the fact that we should be making our decisions with compassion. And that's coming true now more than ever. Now we have to stick together with our decision making and look out for each other. And I'm so relieved and I'm so heartwarming to see how much our community has reached out and helped those, especially when we're in a position to help. And to that, what I would like to say is there are some persons, the Prime Minister last week called out, gave recognition to some people from TEAT, and now this time I think I'm going to do the same thing with the persons that have been helping in the community, and specifically Chantal Groeneveld, Peggy Andros Richardson, with Joy Arnell, Mark Schloss, everyone at the Ministry of VSL, along with their volunteers. They have been incredible. They have been receiving our list that we're sending them to help those individuals, and have been going out there as much as they can with the resources they can. And for that, I am forever grateful and will not stop thanking them. And for that is the brief update. I will wait again, like Mr. Minister Samuel, for any questions. But I just wanted to remind everyone, please, to just stay home, stay safe, and God bless us all. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister De Wever. At this time, I invite the Minister of Justice, the Honorable Anna Richardson, to address you. Minister Richardson. Minister, please be sure to unmute your mic, please. Thank you.
I did that again. Thank you, Rolika. Good morning to the Council of Ministers, members of the media, the people of St. Martin that are listening via various means and mediums. I have a short update that mainly focuses on the status of the CFATF. Just to bring to your awareness, on April 6th, as Minister of Justice, I officially received a notice from the Secretariat from the CFATF that is based in Trinidad and Tobago, giving St. Martin the opportunity to know that the plenary meeting that was scheduled for May 2020 due to COVID has now been pushed to November 2020, which gives us additional time. Notice had already been received by St. Martin by our director of the FIU, or our MARC department, Ms. Ligia Stella, back in March. But again, as the minister, I officially received that notice. Also on the 6th, in the late evening, I did share that communication with the chairman of Parliament, that he would then share with the members of Parliament, as I had promised in our last meeting. On April 8th, I held a meeting with my legal team, who is now busy as well, doing the necessary updates and amendments to the proposal to Parliament, as we are seeking to reconvene the meeting with Parliament within this week to next week. And that is within the scope that I requested. I requested 3 weeks with Parliament, and I believe we're arriving at the point where we can have discussions now with Parliament and come under consensus for the betterment of St. Martin. To that regard, I am really excited about the fact that we are looking positive to move St. Martin from the 3rd round to the 4th round, and by that extension, receive the opportunity for the grey listing statement on St. Martin to be lifted, and then we continue to move positively. I am also having discussions with Ms. Stella for us to identify the ownership and management of CFATF matters going forward, being under the MOT, but I'm also trying to identify for an ambassador to be established at the headquarters of the CFATF, whereby eliminating any more opportunities for St. Martin to arrive where we are today. And I say that from this perspective. I believe if we have someone there and in constant communication with the CFATF, updates, trainings, information, everything that is needed will be received in a timely manner and will be dealt with in a timely manner. So I'm busy working on that, and those are my updates when it comes to the CFATF. In addition to, I must mention that I will be sending an official update in writing to parties that are this information is relevant to in great ways, which would be our Bankers Association and the Central Bank. A message that I have with regards to the fact that the Prime Minister has announced that persons will now have the ability to go and do the shopping and can do their banking activities. I'm asking you please to be safe. I recently received a video of a gentleman, or it appears to be a gentleman, that has encountered an accident on a scooter of some sort. And I'm asking that you please be safe on the road. I'm going to follow up right after press briefing is over to find out how he or she is doing, but I'm asking you to please be safe. I'm asking that we continue to practice our social distancing, continue to wear our mask, make sure that you use your sanitizers, and most of all, please, people of St. Martin, let us be considerate to each other, and that this process will go smoothly. I'd like to extend a word of thank you to a few entities here. Econo Supermarket, as you know, the last few days back, we made arrangements for members of the Justice Stream as well as Medical Stream to have an opportunity within their busy shifts to acquire what was needed for their households so that they are able to be able to continue coming out to be in service of St. Martin. So I'm going to extend Econo Supermarket for reaching out to the minister and offering an opportunity for the members to take appreciation of his offer. And also saying, thank you to the CPS team. They're doing a lot of work going out into the various areas that are instructed to or where they feel necessary. So I'm saying thank you to them because, we also said thank you to the Medical Stream when the police officers came together and appeared at the medical center and said thank you. It was such a heartwarming experience for my person as well. So everyone in the Medical Stream, all the volunteers, thank you so very much for everything that you're doing, supermarket, pharmacies, and gas stations. I'm available for any questions. And again, once again, thank you.
Thank you, Minister Richardson, for your opening remarks. At this time, I invite the Minister of Finance, the Honorable Artwell Edion, to address you.
Good morning, Honorable Council of Ministers, media, and the viewing and listening audience. Today, I would first like to thank the people of St. Martin for their patience and their application of the mitigation policies. I believe in the last few weeks, you have shown that you understand the importance of flattening the curve and avoiding overwhelming our healthcare system. As a country divided by open borders, we face unique challenges that many other countries do not have to deal with, which makes our policies a little bit more complicated at times, or even things that we are proud to be known for, like being a melting pot of people, now causing us to have to, for example, translate and communicate in many different languages so that our message is consistent and reaches all groups on the island. So once again, I would like to say thank you, and let's continue along this path. From the Ministry of Finance, we have sent the stimulus and recovery plan to Parliament for their review. We've also gotten the remainder of the money from UTS, which is a little over 10 million guilders, and the 2019 liquidity support has been transferred to the Central Bank in the amount of 44 million guilders. No decision has been made by the Netherlands in the amount of support financially, other than it being more than likely a loan. There was supposed to be a Kingdom Council of meetings this week, but as I understood, it will now be held on April 24th, where a decision more than likely will be made. We are in constant communication with the CFT and hoping to have a favorable decision next week. Seeing the current timeline, we have decided to start the execution of the stimulus plan with our current liquidity support and hope to have our website launched by the end of this week. That'll be all for me, and I'm open to all questions.
Thank you, Minister Edion, for your opening remarks. The Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements, but available for any questions the media may have. At this time, I invite the Prime Minister and Minister of General Affairs, the Honorable Silveria Jacobs, to address you.
Good morning, one and all. Good morning to my colleague ministers. Good morning, Rolika, and all of the wonderful staff at DCOM. Thank you for all that you're doing to ensure that the general public remains informed, that they are aware of everything that has been disseminated by government in a timely fashion, also for the timely translations, and for being present when these late night press conferences and addresses are necessary. Thank you. I appreciate each and every one of you and the feedback that we receive. I would like to say a special good morning to all the people of St. Martin, especially all of those who are on our front lines on a daily basis. Just last evening, I especially thanked the CPS crew, but I would like to, during this press briefing, congratulate them for the work that they have been doing, especially with such a very small staff. I would also like to thank all of the volunteers and all of the medical professionals who have come out of retirement to assist with especially all of the backlog of work in the back office in keeping track of all our isolated patients and ensuring that each one gets the care they deserve. At this moment, I would like to also add to my colleagues' condolence messages to each and everyone who is today, yesterday, last week, or even in the future, going to have to face any pain or struggle as a result of the COVID-19 pandemic, which has gripped the entire world. It is indeed a very sad thing that has happened, unprecedented in our times, and I believe the response of St. Martin and the world will be effective in actually knocking COVID-19 out of the park. It does not only depend on the EOC or the Prime Minister or the Council of Ministers or the elected members of Parliament. It literally depends on each and every one of us doing our individual and collective part as a community to eradicate this most vicious disease. One of the things that I'm truly appreciative of is that I sit in a council of ministers of capable, hardworking persons who are in every way possible supporting the efforts to mitigate, to stop, to halt, and to assist in the enforcement of the measures aimed at halting COVID-19 right here on St. Martin. At times we've had to be tough, but I believe in these days we are called upon to be even more compassionate than we have ever been before, because literally we never know what the other person is facing. Today, I would like to teach one small lesson on perspective. When you look at this paper, there is nothing on it. You will agree that there is nothing on it. However, I will argue that there is something on it. And you will say, but Prime Minister, there's nothing on this paper. Right, Rolika? Is there anything on this paper? Do you see anything on this paper? But I'm going to argue with you, but there is something on this paper. Because this is my perspective, while this was your perspective, and we were both right. But what I would like to ask each and every messages, and I have been seeing your side. I have been hearing your cry, and I understand and feel your pain. As such, in our Council of Ministers meeting yesterday, the Council, especially Minister Doran, requested, and even prior last week, that we fly our flags at half-mast in solidarity with the pain and suffering that many of on our island around the world are enduring, and especially in memory of the 9 deceased persons who we have listed as having COVID-19 and passed away. Though not all 9 died as a result of the virus, these are our numbers, and we honor each and every soul that has passed. I would like at this moment to ask each one to hold silence, pray, meditate, whatever your faith may be, for the souls of the dearly departed, and I have conferred with the legal minds, and in this special time, as per the Council of Ministers' decision, we are decreeing that we are in a period of mourning for the departed, and the flags will fly at half-mast until we decide that we are out of this pandemic. I ask you now for a moment of silence, and I thank Minister Duran for that wonderful suggestion. May God bless their souls. May the light that their souls now spread over this earth shine on all of us and inspire each and every one of us to do our individual part to ensure that not one more soul is lost as a result of COVID-19. I have been seeking ways to find the silver lining in this disaster. As such, I am again so proud of the discussions we held in our Council of Ministers meeting yesterday, whereby each minister sees how important their role is, not only in the execution of the decisions of the EOC, which they all can contribute to or have been contributing to, but also in preparing for what must come next. The recovery of St. Martin. We are St. Martin strong. Each and every one of us, each individual is St. Martin strong. I have been taking some classes over the past days. You might ask where I find the time, but it is necessary to lighten my spirit because yes, the load, the stress, the anger, the frustration, all of that is there. But we must remember, as a man thinketh, so he is. And it counts for women too. So as each and every one of us, because when we say man, we're talking about humankind, each and every one of us, what we have in our minds becomes our actions, is expressed in our emotions. So I'm asking each and every one of us today to replace fear with faith. Replace fear with faith. I have been asking some of our more volatile members within the EOC, when they get riled up, to pause, to stop, to think. 4 simple rules in life to assist us to be able to hear each other, understand each other, and realize that we're all in the same boat, and together we can achieve more than by ones, is RICE. The acronym is RICE. Respect for self and others. I, impulse control. Controlling that initial thought of what you would like to do in reaction. So it stops reaction and it increases thinking. Controlling our impulses. C, compassion. Like I mentioned before when I held up the paper, you're not seeing what the other person is seeing. And I will repeat it for you. This is a blank sheet of paper. But for me, this is a paper filled with words. You do not see the side I am seeing. I do not see the side you are seeing. But when I turn this around, you see the words, and I see the blank sheet. Compassion means trying to see what's on the other side. Trying to put yourself in the other person's shoes. Compassion. E, equity. Equity means that everyone gets what they deserve. That means if you have a family and you have a 17-year-old and a 7-year-old and you're sharing food, you do not give the 7-year-old the same amount of food as a 17-year-old because they require more. In terms of how much time they're allowed to be on the TV or on the internet or on their tablet, each child will get a different amount of time. In terms of how long they're allowed to be out of the house or whether they're allowed to be out of the house under normal circumstances, the 17-year-old will also have more freedoms than a 7-year-old. That is equity. Two children living in the same house but with completely different needs. And that can be two children of 7 years old with completely different needs. It is what our teachers have been doing. And as parents today at home, homeschooling your children with the teacher's assistance, you are realizing that some of what the teachers said was actually true. And some of what your children's struggles are now clearer to you. And you see that it is difficult in a class of 25 to meet each and every child's need. Equity, giving each one what they deserve. So if we practice RICE, respect for self and others, impulse control, compassion and equity, I believe we will go that step further in replacing fear with faith. What you scare, what scares you, what you think about will dominate your thoughts, and it will cause you to react in negative ways. By reacting in negative ways, you create negativity because nobody wants to back down. So I would like to say, from now on, all of us who are fearful, all of our future, of our present, put whatever fear you have into faith, whether it's in God or whatever higher being you worship and praise. As long as you know that there is a higher power and that higher power works with you, and you can tap into that higher power and realize whatever it is that is in you can come out, you will realize how truly powerful you are to change your present circumstances. So I would like to quickly recap some of the decisions that were made moving forward. I already announced yesterday that the banks have agreed upon our insistence and request, ensuring that their staff received an update from a CPS about and how to. They agreed to reopen to be able to allow all those persons who have been complaining to do so today. I already listed the banks, and I would ask DCOM to, of course, put that out there again during the day today, the times that they are open, etc. The majority will close by midday, but the Windward Islands Bank in Phillipsburg will be open until 3:30. Also, the ministerial regulation is being finalized today, and when it is finalized, I will make a short announcement to ensure that everyone understands how the national decree has been adjusted to allow for essential purchases in supermarkets, as well as for persons who are therefore doing their purchases, that they can also put gas in their cars and go to the banks and also use the ATMs. This is not now a release of the lockdown. This is as a direct result of us seeing the need that the delivery system, which had been planned, did not get executed as had been planned, and therefore adjusting so that persons would not go hungry. So on Thursday and Friday, that is tomorrow and Friday upcoming, persons who do not have the essentials in their homes will be allowed to go to the supermarket, to go to the pharmacy, even though pharmacies are delivering and supermarkets also, and you will also be able to go to an ATM or to the bank to do essential services. That is on Thursday and Friday upcoming. Also, as Sunday would mean the end of the official length of the national decree which authorizes the lockdown, on Friday, the announcement of the change in the lockdown will be announced, but suffice it to say that it will be that just as on Thursday and Friday, 3 days during the regular week, supermarkets and grocery stores will be open to allow for essential, and I keep saying this word, essential purchases to be made. Why do I say essential? It is because some persons may run out of the basics. And while we all had a good laugh, and we're very happy with the fame that St. Martin now can claim based on a jingle, it is no joke. We should make sure that we have staples in our house, such as that cannot be, that would not spoil easily. Of course, everyone wants fresh fruits and vegetables, and I ask that you do take the time when you go to the grocery stores on these 3 days that you ensure that you have fresh produce in your house. The supermarkets will continue to deliver on the days when persons are not allowed to move about. But again, for your own safety, for the safety of the population, and to ensure that COVID-19 stops dead in its tracks on St. Martin, do not venture out unless it is totally and utterly necessary. Persons who have appointments with the doctor are allowed to do that. The only document you will need to have is the proof of that appointment. Persons that have doctor's appointments across the border will of course have to have proof of that appointment, as well as the Form C, the waiver that can be signed off by the Minister of VSA, and the email that you should use is vsa@stmartingov.org. I repeat, vsa@stmartingov.org, and that is only for persons requiring a waiver for medical reasons, urgent medical reasons. So no waivers need to be requested for that other than if you have to cross the border. All currently held waivers for essential workers will remain valid for the period of the lockdown and will be automatically extended. So you do not have to request a new waiver at the end of this week. Only persons who have now come aboard as working in banks and working in what other places new? Supermarkets that did not open prior, they will necessitate having a waiver signed by your employer. You do not have to send this to the chief of police or myself or anyone else. The same waivers that are on our website, Forms A and B, for regular movement in the island of St. Martin, are necessary to be signed by either yourself or your employer. Only persons who are carrying out essential work, which is listed in the national decree, are allowed to be on the roads to give essential services to the general population. All of these persons, not only medical personnel, not only police, fire department, ambulance, CPS workers, St. Martin Medical Center nurses and doctors, and White and Yellow Cross nurses, but also persons working as cleaners, also those persons who are picking up our garbage. Those are just as essential and even more essential right now as we're dealing with a health pandemic whereby cleanliness is right up there with godliness. So as I repeat, the waivers you currently hold remain valid. If you have only received a waiver to go out once, it is of course not valid. Persons who have to take care of the elderly, you also will sign that your personal waiver and make sure to have on it what the urgent reason is, which district you're going to, and you should go and do that and get back home as soon as possible. Please avoid excessive contact with persons as you do not know their status and they do not know yours. As CPS continues today to go into their community outreach and try to reach those persons who have not dialed 914 and try to identify within our community any and all persons who are symptomatic, so having flu-like symptoms, I ask the cooperation of each and every person who gets that knock on your door. CPS will be identifying themselves and the mobile unit will be in that district to carry out the testing today. So avail yourself of the opportunity to get tested, as that is the only way we will know our true numbers and be able to really flatten the curve. This is the reason why we are in lockdown. This is the reason why we are suffering just a little bit and not able to move about. But as Minister Samuel said, Take this time to educate yourself. Take this time to bond with your family. Take this time to just stop, reflect, meditate, pray, and ask God, ask your higher power to give you the strength and guidance and faith to get up and do everything with a purpose and with gratitude. Gratitude, when you put it into action, will be positive for not just you and your family, but for everyone. The more time we spend complaining, the more negative emotions we are bringing up in ourselves, which will lead to negative actions. Positivity begets positivity. Iron sharpeneth iron. These are not my words. I am just telling you all the things that I have read over my lifetime that is now coming into play and strengthening me to be able to, together with my Council of Ministers and the EOC, help St. Martin people to be their best, to get the best result. We all want to, in June, I am putting my goal as June. You, if your goal is May, pray for May, that we are out of the COVID-19 pandemic and we are on the downside of the curve. But each and every one of us have to do our parts. Maintaining social distancing, even if you go to the supermarket or to the pharmacy, of 1.5 to 2 meters distance from everyone. Only one person should be designated from each household to go out and use the grocery store or any other service at the bank, etc. If you are not adhering to social distancing rules, you will be sent home, or worse, fined and or arrested. I do not think you want that. Many already feel like they are in jail in their homes. Imagine being in jail in a cell. We do not want that. You do not want that. So let us not push ourselves for negative consequences. We have been seeing all of the suggestions coming out from the public. I have a team of persons combing the net and the web for positive suggestions, which have also been brought forward yesterday in our ESF coordinators meeting to tackle what would be next in dealing with this COVID-19, including the relevant ministers. Suggestions about 5 or 6 from ESF 10, which is TIAT ministry, were brought forward in how to step up the availability of supermarkets for the general public. We received also a suggestion from members of the Council of Ministers. We received suggestions from members of Parliament, and all of them were utilized to be able to come with a solution that is before us today. So I ask that each and every one adhere to the measures, remembering the motive behind it. It is for the health and safety of our population first, and second, the enforceability of these measures. I hope to have properly informed each one about our new measures that are going into place. The numbers I would like to share, I forgot, Rolika. I would like to share our dashboard. I hope everyone can see. Is it visible, Rolika?
Yes, it is, Prime Minister.
So if you see this dashboard, if you go to St. Martin, www.stmartingov.org/coronavirus, you will see this dashboard, which is updated daily. You will see that our numbers of self-quarantine persons are 90. Our self-isolation numbers are at 161. Our positive cases remain at 53. Yesterday, we added one more that was inconclusive or pending before. We still have 9 deaths, and I ask each and every one to pause at 12 p.m. and give a moment of silence to remember and reflect on the gratitude we have for life while these 9 persons are no longer with us. Also, you will see in green the recovered persons, and I cannot see the last button, Rolika, what is that?
Active cases.
The active cases, which is now at 38. In the middle, on the bottom, on the top, you will see whatever is the latest address or press conference that is done related to COVID-19. And below it, in the middle, you will see the graph of the confirmed cases, the positive cases in purple, the deaths in red, and the recovered in green. And it is from March 16th, when we started on this journey, up until today, or yesterday, April 14th. Also below it, you can change the view of the graph and see only the curve for the positive cases as well as the other 3. The EOC is working with a more in-depth dashboard, and decision making is also based on the information garnered from that, which is daily uploaded by CPS. And I would like to at this moment take the time to thank the, okay, stop sharing, thank you. I would like to take the opportunity to thank the persons in ESF4 and the back office of the EOC for all their hard work, specifically Johan and Edward of the fire department for all your hard work in preparing this dashboard and working hard with CPS to get it ready for the public. With this, I will now pause, Relaika, for questions from the general public, and thank you for your indulgence in this press briefing this morning.
Thank you, Prime Minister. As mentioned previously, the Minister of ROMI, Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, the Honorable Egbert Duran, is present, however, will not be making any opening statements. If you've just joined us, you are watching the live virtual Council of Ministers press briefing. Thank you for joining us. We now move on to the question and answer session, and I would like to call on Jeffrey Sokrin of Island 92 Radio. You have the floor.
Thank you so much for today, and I think I love the dashboard, and I look forward to being able to use that. I'm sure our general public does as well. I wanted to ask a question, and I'm not sure if this is best directed to VSA or the Prime Minister, and I'll let them decide. We have a number, it's no surprise, we have a number of undocumented members of our population, and they live somewhat under the radar, as we all know, and they're not likely to want to kind of cross that or step out from the radar to ask for health care. Maybe it's because of lack of insurance, deportation concerns, all of that kind of stuff. And what are we doing to really kind of ease those fears and encourage some of that part of our population to come forward, especially if they feel like they are exhibiting symptoms, to get tested and get the proper medical care to help continue to flatten the curve?
Minister VSI, would you like to take it?
Unfortunately, Minister Panafek was not able to be part of the press briefing. So, Prime Minister.
Yes, thank you, Dr. Saw. Good morning to you.
Thank you.
That is exactly the reason why CPS in this second phase, the lockdown was incorporated. We saw a strong increase, not just an increase, we saw a specific demographic of persons who appeared to be uninformed about the virus. They had not registered with 914, appearing in dire health. Yeah, they were already at an advanced stage of COVID-19 by the time they arrived at hospital and needed assistance. We believe that this was happening due to the fact that they did not hear or were not aware or did not understand the messaging that had been put out. And as a result, DCOM started to, we had already started, but we did a heavier campaign in Creole and in Spanish, as well as in English. And even when those broadcasts went out and when this pamphlet was made, which is in 4 languages, Creole, Spanish, English, and French, and handed out in the community. And thanks, I must say, thanks to Telem for their assistance in printing those pamphlets. We still were seeing cases arriving, and persons in a bad case of health were then the persons passing away. God bless and rest them. So CPS decided to not wait on persons to call anymore, and that's why this lockdown was necessary, so that they could go into the community, which was not moving about, and that is what we're doing from here on in. So every day, CPS, together with a group of volunteers from the community who are going out and speaking to them in their own language, explaining to them that this has nothing to do with immigration or status on St. Martin. Every human being within the sound of my voice or within the sound of the car, which I would like to thank Jerry Carr's speaker system. He has a big speaker on his car, and he has been working together with DCOM to get the messaging out in English, Spanish, French, and Creole in the most vulnerable communities that you're talking about, Dr. Sock. So that has been going on. We have trained, the CPS has trained a group of 25 persons who are assisting and working together to go into the community, speak to the persons, and then CPS nurses would come in, have the interviews, log the number of persons who are showing symptoms, and give them a ticket, which allows them to come to the mobile unit, which is parked in the same community, and they can then come there and be tested. Why we're allowing them to come is because if the nurses have to go into each home, then they would have to change their personal protective equipment every single time. And we do not want to waste it. We are right within walking distance of the area that they are canvassing, and the persons are encouraged, once you have flu-like symptoms, to be tested today, to be tested even if they came yesterday, and now you're ready to be tested. Do not fear the result. Knowledge of the result will then give you the opportunity to receive the necessary medication. You do not have to pay for this. Government is covering the testing, you don't need a doctor card, anything. So we are taking care of each and every person that we identify, that we know have symptoms. They will receive the protocol, how to properly isolate themselves, and if they cannot isolate themselves, then they will sign a waiver or an agreement that allows us to put them in a isolation that is then guaranteed to allow them to recover without contaminating anyone else.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Jeffrey Sokrin of Island 92 Radio. We now move on to Bibi Shah of SMN News. You have the floor. As Bibi Shah, maybe.
Are you hearing me?
Yes, we can hear you now, Bibi. Go ahead.
Yes, indeed, I'm experiencing some severe internet issues here, but I'm trying my best. My question is for the Prime Minister, since the Minister of BSI is not there. Madam Prime Minister, can you tell us what medical protocol is being used at the moment to treat COVID-19 patients, those at the hospitals and those in isolation?
I do not have the protocol with me at the moment. Good morning to you, Ms. Shah. CPS, once they identify the person that has symptoms and have given them the protocols, there is a printed protocol. They are also given a verbal explanation. And within these communities where English is not the first language, we are ensuring that there are medical personnel with that ability to speak the different languages to be able to explain to them how to properly isolate. I don't have the document, but I have asked CPS to make it available to DCOM to put it up on our website so that anyone who is at home would be able to read for themselves, and that will be done today. There are protocols and there is medication that is being used. If you look at our numbers, we have been focusing on the negative numbers, but of our 53 cases, those, I believe, Medical Center has the number that actually went into the hospital and left as well in a better circumstance due to the medication received and being put on a regimen. Some of these persons are also within our isolation hotel, and they are receiving updated medicine and updates and checking their symptoms on a daily basis. But the majority of persons are recovering at home with just maybe paracetamol and the regular medications that you use when you have a flu, because it is only if you have underlying morbidities, which the medical professionals call hypertension, diabetes, obesity, and heart or lung disease already in your system, is where you run the risk of having severe symptoms that could lead to you having to go on a ventilator and or unfortunately passing away. So that's why all persons, I would like to thank you for that question, Bibi, because I forgot to mention, all persons who are currently hypertensive, you know, you have high blood pressure, you have diabetes, what we call high sugar, you have, what do you call it? You got sugar. Those of us that are overweight, extremely overweight, those of us that have lung diseases such as asthma and immunodeficiency diseases, so your immune system is low for whatever reason, and those of us who have heart disease, stay at home. Stay at home. And the person that is in your household, that is doing the shopping, that has to work, make sure that protocol is out there. So many videos are out there. I love the St. Lucia video where the mother tells the son, strip outside, nobody outside anyway, they're not going to see you. Leave your shoes outside, put them in a bag, come inside, take a shower, and then you're allowed to, and she put him to pray, but then you're allowed to get in contact with your loved ones. And especially if your loved one is hypertensive or whatever, you stay at home too, as much as possible, and utilize delivery systems. Thank you, Bibi.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We now move on to Stephen Cerulean of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor. Stephen Cerulean. Okay, we will now move on to.
Can you hear me now?
Okay, we have Stephen here. Stephen, you have the floor.
Good morning. Good morning to you, Ms. Roach. Good morning to you, Prime Minister. Good morning to your ministers as well. My question is for the minister responsible for ECYS, Dr. Andreas Rudolph Samia. Based on the situation as is, Minister Samia, have you been in contact with the teachers union? If no, why not? If yes, can you give us an idea as to what the discussion was all about?
Thank you, Stephen, for the question. I think it was a week after taking office, I was in touch with the president of the teachers union, Ms. Elshot, and we exchanged numbers, and I let her to know that, I am available, and she made, she answered back and indicated to me that she would be in touch with me. She would write me and let me know what the grievance is or what questions she had at the moment. So I am awaiting. I think we have open communication. Ms. Elshot and I, we know each other. So whatever it is that we have to work out in the benefit of education will be worked out. I thank you for the question.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. At this time, I invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. Lyndon, can you kindly unmute your mic? Okay, Lyndon may be having some technical difficulties. We'll move on to Wendell Moore of Moore Journal.
Good morning. Thank you for taking my question, and it is directed to the Education Minister.
Are you hear me now? Hello?
Mr. Brown, can you hold on one moment? Mr. Wendell Moore has the floor. We will call on you once Mr. Moore has posed his question. Thank you.
And my question is to the minister if there were any plans to sit with the school boards and address and coordinate the opening of schools if and when the decision is taken. And if yes, what would be the focus of discussion? And if no, why not?
Thank you, Wendell, for the question. I have sent a letter to the school boards, and the letter was primarily in regards to whether or not exams at this moment will continue. I have noticed that the letter was received because there were school managers that indicated that they have received a letter. What is happening, Wendell? At this moment, I am following the process from the AOC and the Council of Ministers. And when we reach to the stage where we can decide if schools should be open, this would be a joint decision, not necessarily from the Minister of Education alone, but I believe we have to take a decision that would make sure that everyone is safe. We do want to go back to school, I can imagine this, but that time when the decision is taken, I will definitely concur with my colleagues to make sure that we are doing the right thing at that moment. I thank you.
Thank you, Minister Samuel. Thank you, Wendell Moore. We now invite Lyndon Brown of BCN TV. Lyndon, please unmute your mic and you have the floor. Mr. Brown? Mr. Lyndon Brown, BCN TV, you have the floor. As we are pressed for time, I will have to continue. We now move on to the second round of questions. Jeffrey Sacrin of Island 92, you have the floor.
Thank you. Thank you, Ms. Roach. And once again, thank you to all of the members of the council that are putting in the EOC or putting in tireless efforts. It is noticed by everyone that I certainly come in contact with. As a follow-up to the first question to the Prime Minister, the folks that are part of the community that are kind of under the radar, that there is no fear of them being targeted by immigration later on down the road. Is that a correct understanding, Prime Minister? And then I guess for by the means of the second question, I'm curious as to what the stimulus. Now that we know that the stimulus looks like it's going to kick off for the month of April, what is the process going to be to the Minister of Finance for folks to apply for that? Thank you.
Did you need clarity, Dr. Suck? I'm not sure.
Yeah, I just want to. The question, Prime Minister, was as we get people to kind of come out from under the radar because it's in their best interest, they shouldn't fear that they're targeted by immigration later on down the road. Is that a correct understanding?
That is indeed a correct understanding. This is a pandemic. It's a human disaster. It is perpetrated by humans moving. If you do not have a good understanding of how this virus spreads, you will be inadvertently or not knowingly spreading this virus. I don't think anyone wants to live with that guilt, first of all. And I do not want the rest of our society to stigmatize this group of people because they have not come forward. By not coming forward, they're actually running the risk of infecting the entire community. Some of the stories I have heard over the past few days is that even though our regulation does not allow for large gatherings, that all of us feel it that we cannot gather to worship, we are looking for other means. But if not all persons have the other means to be able to Zoom church or Skype church or, any other form of worshiping online, and you feel that need to worship with your fellow men, they are still gathering in their churches, as you would mention, that is off the main roads. So the police is not in that area to be able to stop it and break it up. Nobody wants to stop church, but I can tell you, and I have said it before, and if you watch the videos online, The most dangerous way that you will spread this virus is in those kind of gatherings where you are hugging and loving and sharing with each other in the wonderful experience. And then where one had it, now everyone in the church, because of all the hugging going on, because of the way the virus spreads, it will spread. Patient 31 in somewhere in some part of the world, I don't remember where, one person ended up inadvertently infecting 5,000 people. That would be an epidemic on St. Martin. And that is why I ask everyone, whether you find it bold, whether you find it annoying, whether you find it, something that is impossible for you to do, stop moving around unless it is essential. Only go to the supermarket when you literally have no other option. Don't go just because the type of bread. I don't like white bread anymore, but if all I have in my fridge at the moment is white bread, I will eat it. My crackers are finished, so now I have to eat the white bread. You understand? I love sardines, so I'm not gonna run out of sardines. It's not a joke. I'm dead serious about this. So no matter what your economic standing or your status on this country, whether you're legal, illegal, whatever the case is, we need you to let CPS know via 4, and we are going out in the community, but we are not going to reach every community every day. And we cannot keep the country locked down for the rest of the year. So the sooner you let yourself be known, the quicker you'll get assistance, the faster we will give you medication. It is free of charge for you. Government, of course, has to pay. Thank you, Minister of Finance. A pandemic is government's responsibility. So whether you are insured, not insured, we are going district to district. We started in the Sucker Garden area. I believe we're in the Cahill area today. We have to go to the Cold Bay area, the K Bay area, St. Peter's. Every district, the mobile unit will be there. Please do not stigmatize or negatively react to persons you see going to be tested. Do not pull out your cameras and start making videos. If somebody wants the world to know that they are suspected COVID patients or they are positive COVID patients, it is up to them. It is a medical disaster. It's a disaster where medical confidentiality should still be the order of the day. Only people who want to go out there, and I'm encouraging those who have recovered, come out, talk of your experience so that others can know that there is nothing wrong with it. Anyone can catch a flu, anyone can catch COVID-19. It does not discriminate color, class, nor gender, and every one of us is suspect to be able to get it. It just depends on your health, whether you may die or whether you will survive and only have a small fever.
Thank you, Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Jeffrey Socran. We now move on to Stephen Cirilin of PJD2 Radio. You have the floor.
Minister of Finance still had to answer about the stimulus.
Sorry, I stand corrected. Minister Artwell. Minister Edion.
Sorry, my mic. I believe the PM did answer the question from SOC in the manner that he wanted, but I will also mention that
no, Minister.
He
asked about the stimulus plan.
Okay, so in my opening statement, I mentioned that the website will be launched hopefully by the end of the week. The process will be the website for the stimulus program will be launched by the end of the week. For businesses, the process is handled partially by SFV, so payment will be handled by SFV. For unemployment, the idea is to go through the current unemployment processes. And so those are the two main ones. And like I said, so we will hopefully be having the website launched end of this week and give more clarity on the processes.
Thank you very much, Minister.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Prime Minister.
Yes, thank you, Rolika, Ms. Roach. Also via our 711 and our social assessment form available online, persons can already register. And as I mentioned yesterday in my address, there are over 10,000 persons already registered as having been negatively impacted by the COVID-19 pandemic. On those forms, social services will be able to determine which persons were already unemployed, which have lost their jobs, which are only receiving 50% pay, etc. And that information also will form part of the assistance program that will be in place to be able to help the unemployed or the underemployed, as it may be, if they are only being paid partial wages.
Thank you, Prime Minister. We now move on to Bibi Shaw of SMN News. You have the floor.
Are you hearing me, Rolika?
Yes, Bibi, you can go ahead.
All right, my question is to the Minister of Finance, Minister Irion. When you launched the stimulus pack, you said the stimulus pack will focus on 80%, paying 80% of salaries to workers who are today out of work or unable to work. My question is going to be a two-part. What guarantee you have that employers will in fact pay employees that are at home and not working? And secondly, what provision do you have in place for independent workers, such as the vendors, taxi drivers, bus drivers, tour operators, etc.? What is it do you have in place?
Thank you for your question, Mrs. Shaw. The first part of the question was pertaining to how can we ensure that employers pay their employees? Just want to confirm?
Yes.
Yes, okay. We have a couple of processes. One, we have an agreement that has to be signed between the government and the employer that shows that you have stated that everything, that all the documents that you have given the government are factual in terms of revenue, employees, and so forth. We're also looking at the revenue to prove that you have hardship related to COVID-19. Also, we will be having an awareness program in collaboration with the Ministry of TIAT to let employees know that, hey, if you haven't been paid this month and you were not laid off, please contact this specific number and this specific email. So our program also comes with an awareness program. Your second question was pertaining to the amount of the guarantees. Like I mentioned before in my opening statement, we haven't gotten any guarantees from the Netherlands pertaining to the amount of support for the stimulus program, but we will be executing the program with our current liquidity within the next couple of days or weeks.
Thank you, Minister. Thank you, Minister. Bibi, if you're trying to do a follow-up, you have to unmute your mic, please.
It's not a follow-up. It's actually the minister didn't get the question correctly. What I asked him is that 80% he said is for workers' salary, but I asked him what does he have in place for independent workers. I'm talking about bus drivers, taxi drivers, vendors, people that are working independently and today is unable to work because, for example, there is no longer cruise ship. The bus cannot work as they used to because we have a curfew. So what is there in place for these kinds of people?
Yes, thank you, Ms. Shaw. So for independents, as you mentioned, currently in the plan, we'll have to go through if they can't have their income proven. For example, if you can't show that for the last a few months that this has been my income, then you will have to then go through the regular unemployment process through the Labor Department. We are having a discussion this week with the Minister of VSR to have this process sped up and simplified for COVID. And we're looking at the legal manners in which to do this.
Thank you, Bibi. Thank you, Minister Edion. We now move on to Stephen Cerillion of PJ82 Radio. You have the floor. Stephen? Okay, we will then move on to, oh, Stephen is here. Okay, go ahead, Stephen, you have the floor.
Thanks again. My question is for the Minister of TIA. Earlier on, she stated that she is currently holding discussions with the various stakeholders aimed at rolling out a plan in terms of jump-starting the economy. Can she give us an idea as to what the plan to jumpstart the economy, what does that entail really?
Thank you for the question, Mr. Cerillion. What we are doing with the plan is we are looking at, can everyone hear me? Sorry.
Yes, Minister DeWeaver, we can hear you.
Thank you. What we're doing is looking at what's going to happen the minute everything starts to open. We already know that the port is already restricted now to 90 days for cruise passengers. So our next hope is looking at hotels, looking at the hotel construction to continue, working along with the Ministry of ROMI to continue to remove any bottlenecks that happen in the construction of the hotels, as well as connecting with the airlines, with the airports, so that we can start that running, get it up and running the minute we're allowed to open it. But the rest of the details I will be able to release by next week. Basically, we have just been brainstorming on the first parts of the economy that are going to be opened up, and that is looking at the hotels, looking at the timeshares, and getting the airport up and running, because now is the time that we have to focus on it.
Thank you, Minister DeWeaver. Thank you, Stephen Cerillion of PJ82 Radio. Just to let the media know, this will be the final round of questions. Lyndon Brown of BCN TV, you have the floor. Please unmute your mic.
Yeah, good morning. I got it straight now. I was muting the mic.
Okay.
Now, Minister, question to the Prime Minister. Minister, there was some breaking in Soccer Garden, Dutch Quarter, and St. Peter's. I have encountered some people and they're saying they're not getting food. Food are not reaching them fast enough, Minister. What do you have to tell these people in this district? It's question to the Prime Minister.
Okay. Yes, I will take the question since the Minister of VSR is not here. ESF 7 is doing the deliveries of food. As of tomorrow, supermarkets will be open, so those persons who did not get food delivered to them will be able to get to the supermarkets themselves for their essential goods. Those persons who are unable because they don't have the means and are on our list, which has been compiled by ESF 7 on the social affairs, those persons will be getting deliveries as soon as we replenish the boxes. Due to getting information from Prime that the expected delivery was not able to be made on Tuesday, from my seeing emails going back and forth, I understand that the deliveries will be made Thursday, and as soon as they have been made, those boxes will be replenished. What I would like to ask those persons to do is to get in direct contact with their community leaders. I believe DCOM has already published those lists. If not, I will ensure that it is done today so that people will know who to contact within their communities. If they have not yet registered on the social impact assessment form online, And if they do not have access to internet to be able to do so, or just not, current, they can call the free number 711 and the social services employees, who I must thank also for doing an excellent job of manning these phones, as well as going out in the community and delivering food together with other volunteers, which if I start to name them, I'll miss a few. So I'll just say to all the volunteers that have been involved in our food drive, thank you. And especially to Dirkian and Joost, DJ and Jay, who have been doing this since Hurricane and never stopped, and have actually stepped up to even continue. So maybe DJ, if you're hearing this and you have extra food, please take it to the communities that Mr. Brown is talking about, which I know you go to every other day anyway. I would like to ask those persons in the district who do have to share to be able to find the persons who are in need. The boxes will be coming as soon as we can replenish them on Thursday.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Thank you, Lyndon. Wendell Moore of Moore Journal, you have the final question.
Okay, my question is directed to the Minister of Finance. I know he spoke of length about the website, but I'm being pressed to ask if landlords, I know he has been asking landlords to be considerate to tenants, but some would want to know if there is any benefit in the stimulus plan that they can benefit from. And the second part of my question to him is, how deep does he expect this stimulus package to go, whether it's going to be into 2020, 2021, seeing that this pandemic is really taking a strong hold on us?
Thank you for your question. The last press briefing, I believe the Minister of Justice mentioned that she is looking into the rent committee, and also that we had to have a meeting, myself, her, and Minister of Roaming. We haven't had this meeting as yet to come up with any solutions or have a discussion pertaining to landlords. The only thing that I can say is that banks have given sort of a grace period for any landlords that may have mortgages and so forth. And I stress that tenants and landlords have a discussion pertaining to payments. I spoke to one landlord, for example, last week that told me her tenant came to her and said, I could only afford this amount of rent this month. It was about 80% difference. And she accepted given the current situation, knowing that the tenant has been a good payee for the last 10 years. Pertaining to your follow-up question, how long this stimulus plan will extend into, the plan has different scenarios from 3 months to 6 months, for example, even 9 months. But of course, the hope is to not have the economy shut down for so long. But I can imagine seeing that the cruise ships, for example, have a 100-day no sail extension, us not knowing airlines are coming back. That, in my opinion, that we might see our economy slowing down for a couple of months. The hope is, as the Prime Minister recently mentioned, is to have our local economy open up as soon as possible. So the faster that we could contain the virus, the faster we could get our local economy up and running and get a boost from there. But I do see us going, our economy slowing down for the next few months, between the next 3 and 6 months.
Thank you, Minister Edion. Thank you, Wendell Moore. Members of the media, this brings us to the end of the question and answer session, and I would like to thank you for taking part. Before we end, I would like to once again re-invite the Prime Minister of St. Martin, the Honorable Severo Jacobs, to address you. Prime Minister.
I remembered my mic today. Thank you, Ms. Roach. Thank you to my colleague, counsel, and Council of Ministers, and thank you also to all the reporters who tuned in today to be able to take part in this virtual press briefing. It's a bit weird not being able to interact on a real level, but I have faith that we will get there soon. I would like to reiterate the places, the essential businesses that are allowed to be open: banks, bakeries for the sale of bread, grocery stores as of tomorrow, of course, pharmacies, gas stations, including wholesalers, distributors, and retailers of cooking gas. As a matter of fact, many were asking, deliveries are still allowed for cooking gas even while gas stations are closed for the public. The first hour of any shopping is always for seniors and other vulnerable persons, including pregnant women, are allowed to take part in that first hour. And we ask the general public to be very, very patient. While some of our frontliners have benefited this week in being able to go to the grocery stores, as of tomorrow, all persons will have the same opportunity. And again, we do not expect people to flood the grocery stores and go on another binge shopping. We will not be keeping the grocery stores closed. And as of next week, 3 days per week, you will get the opportunity to go. Again, only one person per family should be going. And as a matter of fact, only 2 persons maximum should be in a car unless you can properly distance yourself, that being the driver and the person sitting behind the passenger seat. So that way you're at least socially distanced in the car. That is especially for those who are sharing rides in order to get to the grocery store. We'd also like to have the grocery stores ensure that only one person goes in per family. So even if you still break the recommendation for your own good and you go in twos, one will end up having to stay outside or in the car. So we're asking all to please live up to these recommendations. We ask the grocery stores to continue to deliver, especially on the days when the grocery stores are not open to the public, and that the public also be disciplined in their ordering. We are really, some grocery stores have offered packages, and that is always easier. If there's a package, I'm going to get this or I'm going to get that. And the TIAT ministry is working on creating, the social affairs and community development, like the ones that are going out delivering the government boxes. They're also creating packages that then the supermarkets can price and have persons order, which is always easier for delivery. I encourage all the supermarkets to utilize our taxi drivers and bus drivers who have made themselves available. Thanks again for that. And as I stated earlier, I would like us to remember our deceased every day at 12 o'clock. Take 1 minute to pray, reflect, remember, and be grateful for all that we have, especially our lives. And remember you are safe at home. Testing continues in the districts. Look out for the mobile van. Do not rush the van. Wait until you are contacted. If you have signs or symptoms, you can still call 914 today during regular working hours, or your family physician. If you do not want to deal with CPS, you can always call your family doctor, who will be able to help you in the same way. Today, as I mentioned, I would like to reiterate all those persons who were mentioning that they have uncashed checks. Today's the day for you to do that ahead of anyone else tomorrow and Friday. Please make use of the opportunity. You still have just over an hour in most banks. And I would like to encourage all businesses who have the means to extend corporate social responsibility in helping the persons who have actually supplied you with your largesse. I would like to thank Telem, the airport, the harbor, Domino's, Dolphus Richardson, all those caterers and soup kitchens and persons who are have restaurants that have been donating food. Thank you, thank you, thank you to all of those persons on the front lines, even those that you do not see, especially our cleaners and our garbage collectors and all those persons packing the shelves, packing the boxes. Thank you from the bottom of my heart. Thank you for the volunteers who also pick up on community social responsibility Together, we can beat COVID and we will flatten the curve, I am sure, within the next 2 weeks. God bless you, St. Martin. God bless you, Council of Ministers, and all those who are following this broadcast. Have a blessed day.
Thank you, Prime Minister. Honorable Ministers of the Council, members of the media, radio listeners, and online viewers, this brings us to the end of the live Council of Ministers press briefing for today, Wednesday, April 15th, 2020. For rebroadcast, tune into St. Martin Cable TV, St. Martin Gov Radio 107.9 FM, the official Facebook page of the Government of St. Martin, and the YouTube channel, Government of St. Martin. For video on demand, log on to the official government's website at stmartingov.org. On behalf of the Department of Communication and the Government of St. Martin, I'm Rolika Roach, and bidding you a pleasant day further.